I am live now. Good day, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining me from. Hope that you're all doing well. Let's happiness. Oh, George is here. Hey, George. Can you send me a request, or let me see if I can get you? There we go. Okay, today I'm doing a joint live with Dr. Shamiel and George Lewis. Good day, George.
I got it this time. I'm so sorry about last time.
Oh, don't even mention it, Jeff. It was probably from our part. How are you doing, George?
I'm doing very well, actually. It's interesting. I'm here at Jupiter Rising, my retreat center in the Catskills, and we have our first very large retreat this time. We've done 4 or 5 small ones. This one is like 15, 20 people, so it's going to be a lot of work, but a lot of very rewarding.
Beautiful. What are you guys doing?
Well, I'm doing a lot of sound therapy, working with vibrational therapy, crystal bowls and Tibetan bowls, and then I'm doing a lot of astrology and tarot for the clients, and also, you know, we're doing some meditation walks. I built a chartreuse labyrinth on the land, so we've got a lot of stuff on offer.
Beautiful. Good day, Dr. Cheryl. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
We are great. Do you know George, or do you guys know each other?
Hi.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, both of you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm in LA. George is in New York now, George?
Yes, New York, exactly. Upstate New York, about 2 hours north of the city.
Okay. I used to live in Montauk.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. I mean, that's probably the nicest part of Long Island, isn't it?
Yeah.
And where are you now, Dr. Shamil?
I'm a little bit everywhere. I'm in Louisiana right now. I'm from Montana, so I go back a lot because of we still have a place there. My family's there, but we also live in Destin, so it's kind of like a lot of places. We just skip around depending on what's going on with kids and everything.
I hear you. Beautiful, great. So our topic today is about our physical body, life after life, and parallel universes. Who wants to start?
Ooh, this is nice.
I think the wise lady with the lovely long blonde hair should start.
Well, what exactly do you want to discuss? The importance of it? Or give me a lead here.
Yeah. So basically, you know, a lot of us are believing in reincarnation, life after life, but you know, there are some people who are like, what? I don't know if it's because their religion or stuff. So there's a controversy there. Some people say, yes, we do have life after life. They believe in reincarnations, and some don't. What's your thought on this, Dr. Shamil?
Well, I think that it's been proven we have genetic memory. And of course, we know we are all one. So I am you, you're me, I'm George, George is me. We're all connected, not only on a DNA level, but on an energy level because of the biofield around the earth. So the illusion of separation is strong. It's a big one for this program here on the earth. But the truth is we're all one. And, you know, we can have memories of way, way, way back. Mm-hmm. And let's say one of us were connected way, way, way back in some other way. That doesn't go away. It's still there. It's stored in the DNA, which is in the body. And so we have these, you know, awakenings or dreams or remembrances of different things. And we're just walking it out, aren't we? It's such an interesting time to be in. And it definitely gives us the opportunity to use discipline in the mind to remember, meaning to unify as one, especially with all the programs now of division, whether it's gender, race, you know, pigment or whatever, money, class, you know, countries, you know, and it's all an illusion. It's absolutely an illusion. And the more we can remember in union. And I like the word remember, because re means to do again, and union is to stay and as one with God. As we remember love, who is God, then we are all connected, and we have more empathy for others, and we can connect to others, and we can see things from a different perspective, hopefully, or at least that's what I invite everybody to do on a regular, is just to stay in love.
Beautifully said. What about you, George?
Well, I mean, I think what Dr. Shan's saying is, for me, really resonates. I mean, when you asked me to talk about my physical body, obviously I kind of initially wanted to start with, let's talk about the four bodies. You know, you've got the physical, you've also got the emotional, you've got the mental, and then you've got the spiritual. And I like the way Dr. Shan talked about the illusion, because this is very, very real. And this is something for really quite a few years now. It's been increasingly clear to me. And as I've become clearer on this, it's been very hard, because I've had to separate myself from a lot of previous friends, because I'm not prepared to play in the illusion anymore. And so, for example, seeing you two as feminine, or seeing someone as black, or seeing someone as Jewish, all these separations, they're real, but they're third dimensional, lower vibrational vibration, the frequencies that keep us separate, anxious, and most of all in fear. And when you asked me sweetly to join today, the Hawaiian prayer came to me, the Ho'oponopono. I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Why? Because at the end of the day, in that prayer, in one fell swoop, you have the four forces of consciousness at work. Repentance, I'm sorry. Forgiveness, please forgive me. Thank you, which is gratitude. And I love you, which is love. And it's a beautiful prayer. And I don't have any Hawaiian tradition either. So it's not like I'm, claiming descent, from either a Native American or a South, Asian or Pacific Island person. No, this is a universal tenet of love, which takes us into the frequency of higher consciousness, away from separation, away from fear. And so for me, the physical body is powerful, because when we listen to the physical body, which we call the somatic, it never lies. Now, it lies if we're on medication. It lies if we're putting stuff into it that should not be in it. But that's a whole other conversation. But at the end of the day, when the physical body is a temple, and when the physical body can really be tuned to marry the frequency of spirit, of mental, of emotional, we have liftoff. And that's really what the human collective is going through now. And there's a lot of angst out there, because there's a lot of pain, because people are still believing in the old order. And we are dissolving this old order. It's very exciting. But yes, it is fearful. So I'm grateful to you for allowing me to share some insights with you today on this.
Beautiful. So what do you guys think about parallel universes? What is your definition, Dr. Shallow? How do you go about that?
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with my background at all. I was actually, I mentioned Montauk earlier. I was a part of some MyLab projects as a kid. I say unfortunately, everything is for a reason, and so I don't look at it as a negative in some aspects. But yeah, time travel's been going on for a long time on a physical. We have all kinds of technology that's been suppressed. They're using it constantly, and we are in different dimensions, and there's lots of people who have experienced now are just because they have to tell you that it's already there. I mean, it's been happening. Man in a High Castle, the guy who did that one, and I'm trying to remember the other, what's his name? Wolf. He
Not Donald Walsh, is it?
What's that?
Not Donald Walsh, is it?
No, it's Wolf. I think it's Dick Wolf. Who wrote Man in a High Castle. It was a book at one time, and then he's done several others. But he has been very adamant that he made these movies and these books based on personal experience, by going into different dimensions and seeing them and seeing the different timelines that can go out or have already gone out or going out parallel, and what can happen as depending on the choices that we make to bring the timelines together. So if you Google, I'll have to look up to see what his name is. Dick, I believe it's Dick Wolf, but he also did the God, I cannot remember. Can you guys remember, George? Do you know, George, what I'm talking about?
I remember The Man in the High Castle, but I'm not so good on that.
I'm gonna Google it. Yeah, but his, I've watched all this stuff and I was like so intrigued, because I understand that it's real, and there's many people who've come back from the future to the future, in different universes, that have said, oh, I come from here. And, people probably look at that as like cuckoo crazy, but it's real.
So if I can jump in here, it's very interesting, because this conversation really resonates with my core being, and bringing it to the subject today, my physical body. My physical body is going, yes, yes. It's really frequently, the frequency is deeply connected to what we're discussing. But here's where my mental and my understanding of where we still are in the third dimension, and we have, 35, 40 people listening. And I know some of those people, one would have to tread carefully, even though they're on here, with the subject matter. So I've learned very, very judiciously to share at the level of the consciousness of the person who's listening. And for me, time travel is real. I've had personal experiences of non-terrestrial visitations. I'm not going to go into that now, because to me, this isn't the right forum. And it's not that I want to leave people hanging on, but it requires, that's why I have my healing retreat here. It requires a certain level of access. It requires a certain level of esoteric knowledge, and it requires a deep sense of releasing old belief systems. And people talk it, but they ain't walking it. So, when it comes to time travel, it's very, very real indeed. And I have proof on very clear political levels that certain people have time traveled, but I'm not going to go into that now, because not everyone's ready for that. But it is powerful that the esoteric dimension has always governed this planet. And the fact that it was separated, largely consciously separated at a low frequency, to keep humans enslaved in the third dimensional matrix, is a whole other conversation. And I know us three understand that very clearly. And that's why there are often societies and groups of people who have to initiate, who have to test the waters of the student to see where they're at. You can't throw them in the deep end. I go back to the allegory of the cave by Plato. It's marvelous, because it really, really talks about, let's just quickly refresh it. The allegory of the cave is, there we are, and it's men who are chained to the back of a wall, and they're looking at a screen. Isn't it interesting that Plato talks about the screen? Okay, the television. They're chained and looking at the screen, and that's their reality. And what do they see? They see the flickering shadows of men and situations, and that's their reality. Now, a man escapes, and he journeys up out of the cave into the light, and he's blinded by the light, but he does eventually come back down and tell his fellow prisoners of what he has discovered, and they all totally laugh at him and laugh him out of court and say, you drunk, you charlatan, absolute rubbish. This is the reality. And that's what we're going through now. And until we can release belief systems, until we can release our own stories, our own trauma, and that takes a lot of work and a lot of guts, but it also takes a lot of compassion, self-compassion, and releasing parental structures, religious structures, economic structures, but most of all, really, social constructs that were so many human beings are so bound to want to please their group of people, their society, that they get caught up in the constant machinations of third dimensional matrix. And that's where Neo is so correct with the blue and the red pill in the Matrix. Go and watch it again. So what I'm saying in a very roundabout way, as I concur everything with what you've just said, but one can't go too much into it. Firstly, it takes too long. And, one wants to take people slowly out of the cave so they're not totally blinded by the light. But that is what's happening. This is the Great Awakening. The timeline did change in 2016. Project Looking Glass is real. and the cubes are real, and we do have these amazing tetrahedrons, and we do have these portals. They do exist, and they have been suppressed. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, and I did look it up, Sudi. Blade Runner, Total Recall,
Yeah,
Minority Report,
exactly.
Adjustment Bureau.
Mhm.
So that's just to name a few. And he literally says that he wrote all of these by experience of being there and seeing how it worked out. And it's very interesting, especially The Man in the High Castle, because the timelines, oh my God, if you guys haven't seen it. But anyway, I just wanted to finish that part of my thought. It was leaving me crazy, like not being able to tell you. But thank you to Mara, who wrote on here, because that helped me look it up. So yes.
Yeah, that's moral. So I thought I just pinned it so you can see it.
Thank you so much.
So here's my question. Like, for instance, for me, I have seen many things in state of trance. For instance, this parallel universes, when I was looking at the screen with so many different lives, and from what I understood, or what the way I understood it, is because there is no concept of time and space, any other lives or different lives that we're living are happening right here, right now. So it's like multiple, multiple, multiple universes. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I think where I'm going to come in is as a soul incarnate in flesh, and I have quite a lot of memory of previous lives. And again, not wanting to leave people hanging, I have, as in hanging on a thread. I'm going to share two very quick memories. One is 1776, and the memory of the last Pluto return in this great country of mine. And don't get confused. I may sound like an Englishman, but I am
Do
truly
you,
American.
George? I
No,
didn't notice that.
No, but let me tell you, I'm truly American. And then the question is why? Because I believe in freedom. And I powerfully believe in freedom. Most people don't know what freedom actually means anymore. They've been so conditioned, enslaved, to think that their freedom is reliant upon making enough money to go to Turks and Caicos to sit on the beach for 2 weeks of the year. And they've done it because they're posh slaves. But really, we don't know what real freedom is. But we're going to learn it again. But it's going to be a little bit of a tumultuous few years until we get there. The point is, I have some memory of 1776, but this is where I'm going to go a bit weird for some of you listeners. I have powerful memory of the fall of Atlantis and the medical fascism that happened then with genetic experimentation. And what, as an astrologer, I talk about Saturn. Saturn is out of control at the moment. Saturn is control, totally out of control. And if you look at the planets now, Saturn is being dismantled. And Jupiter, you wait, when he's back in Pisces next year, I tell you, it's going to be a very, very interesting, just to bear witness to the dismantlement of Saturn. But the point is, we all have memory when we tune in some way to something. But parallel universes, I'm open to it all. So what does that mean? Is my belief system is not fixed in saying this is right, this is wrong. I'm like a child because I'm open to learning new levels of consciousness. I reject academia. I reject the ivory towers of, doesn't matter whether it's Harvard or Oxford or the school system, because it seeks to saturnize us. It seeks to reduce us to information and maybe knowledge within a very specific condition, rather than wisdom and cosmic knowledge. So for me, it's very much, I'm open to it, but I don't really know everything about it because, I haven't literally been part of the secret space program like some people. I haven't, I've lived in this life as a human being, so I stay quite humble and I work in my own human way, bringing in my ET understanding and try and help through love. And if you like, the Ho'oponopono of I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And keep it simple, stupid.
Awesome. Yeah,
George, we still didn't get it. Why do you sound so British if you're American?
Because I only moved here 10 years ago. And of course, I'm in my mid-40s. So it would be a bit strange and superficial if at the age of, I don't know, 35, 36, I would suddenly, change my accent. My whole educational system was in the UK,
That's
for
awesome.
better or for worse.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I
You
actually
just
went
want to be clear there, George.
For me, it's about philosophy. For me, it's about understanding what the United States stands for. I mean, for me, it's very clear. We're in the Second American Revolution, but here's the difference.
Yes.
The Second American Revolution will ultimately become a global constitution.
Yeah.
And once the darkness is dismantled, alchemized, which I think is a lovely word that my friend Laurie Ladd uses a lot. Once the darkness is alchemized, don't forget darkness is just ignorance, light is just knowledge, but real knowledge. I'm talking not papal knowledge of keeping things hidden against Galileo or Copernicus for 50 years like what's happening now. No. I'm talking about real cosmic knowledge. We are ensouled in the cosmos. Our DNA is absolutely ensouled in the stars, as above, so below.
Mm-hmm. George, I wanted to ask you this. I have a friend, that's why her name is Nikki. They live in Africa, and they really want me to go to Africa and have a retreat. I said, I can't just come by myself. I got to gather a lot of light workers and that stuff. Anyway, they own 3 hotels there. One of them is beautiful, just by the beach and blah, blah, blah. So I said, okay, we're going to go there. And you guys are more than welcome to come. I'm thinking about, something like an ashram, like a retreat ashram that's ongoing, like people come together, they're like-minded and all that stuff. But anyhow, my question for you, George, is we are talking about a new wave coming with this COVID and a bigger lockdown. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you really want me to answer?
Yes, I really want to know.
I think you probably know what I think. I mean, this is Saturn desperately trying to control humanity. For me, it's been very clear from get-go. And my clarity has made me a pariah amongst, and I was a very sociable creature before. My knowledge, quite frankly, my understanding of the situation has made me a pariah amongst the people I used to spend time with. It's not to say that these viruses don't exist. I've never said that. They do. But it is connected to influenza. It's connected to the common cold. And these variants are out there deliberately to try and fear-monger and scare humanity. And unfortunately, until humans wake up, I mean, I'm a healer. I get people to do their own self-healing. That's what I do. I allow people to reconnect. And I love the word earlier you used, is to remember the power of your sovereign immune system. You're in charge of your vessel. Back to your conversation today, the physical body. You own that physical body. That's yours. It's your soul contract. It's your temple. It's not for me, the doctor, me, the teacher, me, the politician, to tell you what to do with it. We have total cognitive dissonance on this planet. We can have me too, my body, my rights when it comes to abortion. And then suddenly, now with the vaccine, oh no, that goes out of the window. We have medical fascism. Oh, bingo, remember, end of Atlantis. Boop.
Yeah, can I jump in here?
Yeah, sure.
I was going to go back to what George was saying about Saturn. That has to do with time. And it is dismantling, which means time is dismantling. And there's just this ginormous expansion that's going on where really time is now, and there is no time but now. And so and also going back to the calendar where we're at, I don't know astrology like apparently he does, but I just spoke with Joni Patry and was on with her for about an hour, and what she was showing me is that we are literally back into the literal 1776, and this is probably what he was saying, but the planets, meaning, have never been exactly like this except for that time period with the American Revolution. So when you say there's an American Revolution and a second one, you mean it literally by the planets aligning in that time for that revolution.
Let me jump in here and to build on that, because it's absolutely correct what you just said. So in 1776, Pluto was in Capricorn. Now, don't forget, Pluto takes about 18 years to move through a sign. It's 248 years for Pluto to do a solar rotation. Don't forget, we take 365 days to do a solar rotation. Pluto takes 248 years. So the last time Pluto was in Capricorn was the what I call the revolutionary wars against the United Kingdom, against the fascism of George III and his government, which is, no taxation without representation, all those things. And it culminated with the French Revolution in 1789. Here, now, at 24 degrees Capricorn, which is when the 1776 happened, we have a very, very similar situation going on. But we also have some other things. We have a square between Saturn and Uranus. Can I quickly explain this? This is very exciting. This is very exciting because we go back to our Greek mythology. And, before COVID and all the pandemic, I used to give these wonderful tours around ancient Greece because I love the Greek mythologies. Why? Because they talk to our cosmic soul. Those gods are in us. And I know Christ consciousness and Buddha consciousness understood this too. It's a universal tenet. So what I'm saying here is with Saturn, what does he do in cosmology? He castrates his father. He takes the balls of Uranus off and throws them into the ocean. Of course, born from those, the sperm is obviously Aphrodite. And that's another story. But here we have Saturn constricting his father's ability to the sky god. And, there are some very interesting people, for example, Uranus, which is freedom, which is radical change. I mean, Richard Tarnas in his book Cosmos and Psyche speaks brilliantly about this. And I recommend it. It's a hard read, but I recommend it for people who are seriously interested in these cycles to read it. I've given masterclasses on that in the past, and I'll probably do so again. But I think we're witnessing Saturn. Not only has he tried to castrate his father, but Uranus comes back, you see. If you take the mythology further, is Saturn ends up being dismantled because Jupiter overthrows Saturn. And especially next year, you're going to see the rise of Jupiter in Pisces, which is very benefic. And Saturn is going to be alchemized. It's just we're feeling it very heavy at the moment. I mean, you see it in Australia with the fascism that is carrying on. I mean, no one can dispute that unless you are so ridiculously programmed, and have no understanding about human freedom. You can see in Australia how it's playing out. I mean, those camps that they're building, I mean, talk about the 1940s. I mean, so, we have to stand up for freedom. We have to be prepared to be Uranian and to be Jupiterian and say, no, we need Saturn, but not this Saturn. Saturn at the high vibration is architectural foundation, stability. And of course, Saturn says no. So of course, when a mass murderer bangs on your door at night and you say, no, you can't come in, that's good Saturn. But bad Saturn is basically no rights, no freedoms, you're restricted, by law, and law is corrupt. Law is totally corrupt at the moment. I mean, every area of government is corrupt. It doesn't matter where it is. And again, it's Republican and Democrat. Come on, guys, get over it. This is a systemic situation where the whole system needs to be dismantled. And we didn't know about the corruption within the mass movement until 2016. And that's what the Great Awakening is about.
Now, George, before I have Dr. Chanel pick up, I want to know specifically, do you believe that we're going to have another lockdown and they're expecting to have a second wave? And if your answer is yes, when? So we are in September right now, October, November.
I mean, to me, the lockdowns are very connected to information that's going to be coming out in the coming months on corruption. And that corruption is economic, political, but also electoral. So for me, the lockdown is the sign. I mean, I look at things symbolically. I'm a symbologist. I do astrology and I like symbols. I like Jungian archetypal astrology. I mean, if you muzzle them, I mean, it's pretty obvious. And of course, what is nature? Breathing in God's fresh air. I mean, telling people not to go outside, not going to the gym. To me, it's crystal clear. But, other thing is, I've learned patience galore. And some of my friends may be listening to me, and they know naturally I'm a very impatient person because I'm constantly wanting to wake people up. I've learned to be incredibly patient. I mean, I've gone in my personal life. I don't normally talk about it. I've gone through a divorce, and most divorces end because of, abuse or infidelity or financial impropriety. And for me, it ended because of philosophy. I've had to suffer in my own way. But we've got to wake up. And the job here is to remind us human beings are truly who we are. And it's love. And when we can have that, I work through healing through vibration. So if you listen to the love frequency, you can't have fear. Two vibrations can't exist in the body at one time. So if you explore through breath work, through yoga, through sound meditation, through any form of holistic enterprise, you can tap into that love frequency. And suddenly through meditation, you can begin to see the forest from the trees. You can begin to see the absolute corruption, energetic corruption that is being placed upon us. And that is what it's about, is being able to see it, and then it dissolves. Because when every single one of you does that, it's totally gone. Beautiful.
But George, the reason I asked you, because I have another Vedic astrologist. He's been in astrology.
I'm not going to get into timelines here. I will say Saturn is going to carry on. Saturn is going to push very hard until January. Yes, very hard. And I think there are going to be, in parts of the world, severe lockdowns. I think in the United States, they're going to try, but it ain't going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm going to be a little cryptic. But let me just share this. Let me just share this with some of your listeners. Is take a deep breath and look at the current administration. Does it feel really real to you? Does it listen to the body, not the mind? Don't go back into the belief system. Now, if you're outside the United States, it's harder because you've got the great blanket of the BBC or whatever the great system is in place. But if you're here in the United States, and of course it's very hard here, but we're at the beginning. We are at the outliers. We're the early adopters of this new revolution that's happening. So we can witness something, and we can sense Saturn's going to try really hard, but the people on the other side, and some people call them the patriots, some people call them the white hats, some people call them, I don't know what they call them, it doesn't really matter. The people who are standing up for human freedom are not going to allow it to happen. And that is connected to time travel as well. That is connected to parallel lives and parallel universes. And it's connected to the physical body, trying to bring it back to the subject matter in hand today.
Dr. Cheryl, what's your thought on this?
Well, I think they're going to push as hard as they can and as much as we allow them. That's the thing, is these are not laws, they're mandates. And that's what people keep getting confused about, is this is not a law, this is a mandate. And what they're exercising is way past the scope of what they're even allowed to do. But I think that in the beginning, they were kind of like, hey, we're going to do this lockdown or whatever. And people were like, oh, okay, this is for the greater good. And, maybe I can get some shit done while I'm home for a couple weeks and, do the laundry, paint the bedroom. They kind of just looked at it like a free time. The kids were out of school. It's like, yay, okay. But then it kept going, and it spaced out, and time moved on. And then the masks and the, coming back and forth. People, at least where I live, people are over this shit. They're just like, there is another mandate here, and you go out and nobody's wearing a mask, and nobody's enforcing it. Now, this is where I live, and I'm in a state where we're having, don't even get me started in the government. I worked with legislature here, and we tried to pass 28 bills. And I worked with the language. We talked to different governors in Texas and Florida to make sure we had everything straight. And, it was passed in both houses. So that's like a miracle. But when it got to the governor vetoed it, which is, if he's supposed to represent the people and all the people who voted already are supposed to represent the people, then that should have been a no-brainer. Like, oh, well, this is what everybody wants, so we should do it. But he didn't even give a reason for why he vetoed everything. And some of them included being able to get a driver's license or do random things without having to have a thing. I don't want to say the thing. So
no, I understand.
We did the first time ever got an override, special session to override the governor. This has never happened in our state. And we were given that. And guess what? I had people coming from all over this state 6 hours away to testify about what would happen, what's the consequence of this, and what they were seeing in their families, different people that can unfix it, who have lost their lives, blah, 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 blah. And when they showed up for the courtroom, they wouldn't allow anybody to talk. They just ran the clock, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and nothing got done and nothing got passed. So again, you know, you see in overseas where they're just showing up by the millions and they're pissed off and they're not taking it anymore. When we see that here, then we're going to see some movement. But until everyone is over it and says we're not doing it, then they're going to push as far as they can, because free will is free will. And they really want to know how far they can go. Narcissistic behavior doesn't give a shit about any of us. They're going to do whatever they can.
And a lot of these people are taking, you see, this is where we have to really wake up. Where are these diktats really coming from? They're not coming from necessarily within the national boundaries of countries. They are coming, they are coming from a globalist understanding of realpolitik and world government, okay? And you know, the fact that we can't even talk about that means we are in a world of censorship. Wake up. You know, and the United States is based on freedom. You know, Britain, France, and European countries have a lot to learn, and they are behind, and they're going to have to really look at themselves in the mirror, as are we Americans. But, you know, we are leading the charge here for reinstating freedom back to humanity, to humanity.
And let me say too that they're pulling out every stop possible as far as 5G, which, you know, if we're full of chemtrails and shit in the food and all the stuff that's going on, and not to mention this, scalar waves have proven if you get this within 24 hours, your gene or your life force has already decreased by 18%. So they're not completely there, right? And then couple that with 5G, which is like basically if we're full of, you know, the nanotech already, and that it's like putting tinfoil in a microwave. You know, they're frying us from the inside and out. We're not thinking right. We're not thinking straight because they're using that 5G to just push, you know, and which they've been using this kind of stuff since Montauk. They've used the radars to see what they could do with weather patterns, what they could do with people. Kids were showing up in the middle of nowhere in the streets and not knowing why they showed up. Animals, wild animals came in, you know, so they're just messing with us. And
but can I also give some good news that, you know, even if someone has taken some of these, you know, injections, whatever, there is still huge possibilities and time for people to remember, to reconnect to their bodies through natural homeopathic or organic material. You see, we're biological creatures. And really, when it comes down to it, we are given a choice. And this is my Atlantean speaking now. We're given the choice. Are we going to, through medicines, plant and all these different medicines, re-engage with our biological ancestry, re-engage with nature, and we are nature, with the animals and the plants, the trees, or are we going to reject that and go into some form of lower dimensional, third dimensional artificial intelligence? And there is the choice.
Thank you. So I wanted you guys, George and Dr. Chanel, to meet Nikki. This is Nikki from Africa.
Well, first of all, Dr. Chanel, George, very good day to you. Sudi, thank you for having me on this live.
Sure.
I am enjoying the topic so much, and I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
Thank you. Let us know what's happening in Africa. I told them a little bit about the hotel that you guys just donated to me. I call it my own hotel.
We're going to
tell us a little bit about the customs in Africa.
Well, first of all, hi to all your followers as well, Zohra June, everybody, Sahar, Raz, Mershad. Yeah, as Sudi Jun explained, we've got a few properties here in Africa. We've been very blessed, and we're in the process of converting them to a Sudi Burnett retreat so that it's more accessible to people as well. That we can join her on this journey to get to know ourselves better, and you know, some healing process as well. As far as COVID has been happening in Africa, it's impacted the region differently. I can only speak for Eastern and Southern Africa. that I've been in the last few years, and it's had its impact. But I think it's up to each one of us individually or as a group to, you know, try to do our part in order to do what we can do to bring everything back up to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, but Nikki, tell them a little bit about that party town. Tell them about weekend. What's going on? We cannot find Nikki on the weekend because everybody is partying. Tell them about that. God,
That's true. That's true. We've had our lockdown. We've had our fair share of lockdown and curfew. And I think we were one of the first. As soon as Corona started here, everybody here was all into masks and sanitizing, and we're still doing it. I mean, even the hotels, we were taking such strict measures to make sure that, I mean, it doesn't spread or, you know, with sanitizing and everything. But weekends, I mean, you can't stop the people here. They like to socialize. They like to get together. The hugs have decreased. The hugs and kisses when we greet each other, but we still spend a lot of time. And Africa is all about community. Most of you might be familiar with that. So that's why Sudi also knows weekends I do community service. And by service, I mean that I'm just part of it and I'm present.
very good. Yeah. So anyway, getting back to our topic today, before we end up our lives, George, how would you like to put everything together? The concept of physical body, parallel universes, and life after life.
So I'll go back to my first comment with you guys. Is the physical body is very important, but it's part of 4 bodies, obviously: emotional, mental, spiritual, and of course physical. But the physical is powerful because when we are in tune with our soul contract, meaning we are souls incarnate having a human experience, when we listen to our body and we keep it, maintain it like a temple, and of course we can go out and have a nice binge. And I mean, I love pasta. I love red wine with pasta, but 1 or 2 glasses. And I take my fitness health quite seriously. I grow my own vegetables, and it's very important that. And I now have enough vegetables where I can feed 50 people at my healing retreat.
Wow.
But I think the thing is, the physical body doesn't lie. So when we have tuned the frequency, and also I do a lot with water. Structured water is a whole other conversation. I'm happy to go down that route with you another time. When we put proper water into our bodies, most people don't know what structured water is. They drink bulk water. We need certain minerals. Why? Minerals are conductors. They allow all the nutrients to go throughout all the organs, so the body is constantly healed. When we understand real science, not fake pseudo Fauci science, I'm talking real science here, okay? Not faux Fauci. Yeah? As my friend Barbara Marcinek says, faux
Don't
Fauci.
talk bad about my friend, George.
So the point is, the physical body is very important because it's a litmus test. It's a temple. So when you listen to it somatically, it doesn't lie, but you have to tune it up in order for it to tell you the truth. And of course, there are different parts of the body. There's the pineal gland, and we know about that. And of course, it's suppressed, and we know that fluoride isn't very good because it calcifies it. And but so there are many different things. Just I say to all you listeners, like I've done, just do a little bit of research. Use your body to sense whether someone's speaking truth to power. Use your body to sense. Let's take Sudi. You can see what is her ambition and what is her drive. It's to share authentic knowledge, community. She's there in service. She's not a Virgo, but she's the archetype of the Virgo, meaning the nurse, the archetype of the nurse. Why? Because it's the perfection of the self to the service of the other. Start listening to the body, and then you have liftoff, because then you can make proper decisions as opposed to being, at the expense of government or whomever. That it could even be the local teacher telling you what to do. Don't give up your sovereignty. I don't want control over anyone. It's your body, your temple.
Thank you so much. Dr. Chanel, back to you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we create our own world. And, there's been tons of people who are literally in prison but happy in some sense and at peace with being there. And so, you know, it's a mental game. It takes discipline. The word discipline comes from disciple for a reason. And, you know, definitely doing all that we can right now, a big push and force to work on the physical body right now, because that's the house. So juicing, hyperbaric chamber, you know, lots of supplements, IVs, crystals, essential oils, you know, eating well, taking good care of the physical, and then also mentally being very spiritually aware of what we're letting in the mind, what we're putting our eye gates and our ear gates on, who, you know, what we're saying, our conscious language, who we're hanging out with, because that's all transferable, whether it's online or with actual people. You know, it's just kind of like a trampoline. If you're on a trampoline and you sit down and you're in the middle and then someone comes next to you and sits down, you kind of tend to lean towards them. And that's how things are energetically, is, you know, who you hang around with, who you partner with, who you lock arms with. There's a synergy there that, you know, you kind of lean in. And so those things are really, really important right now, just being very mindful of what you're thinking about. And also the three questions that I keep coming back to is, number one, what are you thinking? You know, and maybe put Post-its everywhere. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Because sometimes we're so on autopilot that we don't even realize what we're thinking. And maybe the thoughts that we're thinking aren't really productive and helping the language or the biofield to get a better result. And so what are you thinking is one. Number two is, where are you? Because you could be sitting in a house full of people and doing whatever, but you're not even there. You could be making a mental list somewhere, or going somewhere, or thinking about a memory from 10 years ago, or you're just not present, or you might be looking at screens and not connected. Where are you? Are you in Facebook? Are you in a conversation there? Or, you know, just where are you? Be present in the middle of it. So number one, what are you thinking? Number two, where are you? And number three, who do you think you are? And that, to me, is a biggie, because you can hear that voice going, who do you think you are? And it could be like, oh God, and it's a negative. But my question is, who do you think you are? Because who you think you are really does matter in a physical quantum science level. And when we can remember that we are love, that we are God in us, and that every cell within us is a radiant, shining, beaming light that can radiate out into the field and then collect and magnify things back, then we're going to have a lot better results than being a sponge and taking on anything that just comes our way and taking things personal and being pissed off about everything. So, you know, again, what are you thinking? Where are you? And who do you think you are? Those are big questions for right now, as well as the physical, mental, emotional. And the last thing I'm going to say is cry. If you are sad, cry. Let it out. Do not hold on to that stuff. I don't care if you're a man, woman, dog, whatever. There are some things that will not detox any other way except for through tears. That's scientifically proven. And you can look at tears, and you could test the difference between tears of happiness, joy, sadness, because there's something in the tears that is it's different depending on why you're crying. And so you can be held up or locked in by just not allowing yourself to be and to feel grief if you feel grief. And if you don't let it go, then it's going to be trapped inside, and it causes 86% of all physical issues are emotional. And if we don't give ourselves permission, but trust me, the world won't give you that permission. And because the programs are, do not cry, suck it up, be strong, don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. All of those programs are bullshit. And so the more that we can remember, I'm sad and I admit it, and I have grief, and so-and-so died yesterday and I'm sad, or I'm going to miss this person, or just whatever the situation is. Be honest.
Be human.
Yes. Be authentic. Be true to yourself. Because if you are not living true, you're not living.
Thank you so much. Beautifully said, Dr. Chanel. Nikki, what's your uptake on all this?
I would actually like to say I totally agree with Dr. Chanel. And one of the reasons, Sudi and I, we have this discussion quite often. One of the reasons why we are so blessed right here in Africa is obviously we're not as industrialized. and we're not as isolated in our relationship. The sense of community, and why I totally enjoy these weekends is because that kind of, you know, exactly what you said. It gives you that relief. It allows you to be who you are. You can cry out, you can talk out. And wherever you go here, no matter where you go on this magical continent, you have constant reminders of exactly the things that you mentioned. And automatically, you know, your diet, because it's so organic, it's not industrialized yet. We're blessed in that aspect. Those things help you to find yourself and to become a better person down the line, you know, over time. And it's completely true. But I think maybe in America, in Europe, it's a bit harder to do that. In the Middle East, I mean, where most of us are from, life has lost its authenticity a little bit, you can say, for me at least. So that's it.
Thank you so much, guys. And for me, is I'm just trying to get everyone in my teaching just to be fully here this moment and just experiencing whatever it is. Yesterday, I was doing a joint live with another Persian guy. He's a reporter, and I kept telling him, I said, can you be with me here right now? And then he was like, I said, if you be here fully present, you don't have any need. You're needed less. And he says, what do you mean by not have, all human have needs? I said, stay here. What are you thinking about right now? He said, I'm thinking about how the life is going to go. And I said, who cares? Who give a damn? Let's say our life is not going to go. You're missing being present with me right now because you're thinking what question you're going to ask me next, and is it going to be good or not? Try to stay here with me. And it's just like, I think if we all really learn to be fully present here at every second in our lives, that would be transforming our lives. And every second, instead of just letting the ego mind run us, keep bringing ourselves to this moment. And how am I feeling right now? Changing from the thinking body to feeling body. I'm experiencing joy and ecstasy all the time. It's not because anything is happening. It's not because I'm ignorant of what's happening around the world. But I think if I get attached to what's happening in Afghanistan, in Iran, in here and there, traumas, I'm not going to be helping anybody. I think it's just by me holding my space, being the light, being the joy, being the ecstasy, sending that out to the world. That's how I can transform the world, but not by, you know, just say, oh my God, what are we going to do? Can you do a meditation for Afghanistan? I said, no. I would say, let us all concentrate to be here, be present, and to really know who we are. We are all love and light. Let that not be a preach. Let us all be it. Let us all experiencing it. So that's it for me. It was lovely having you guys here. I would love to have another joint live with you guys. Whenever you're ready, we keep in touch. And if I'm going to go to Africa with George, didn't tell me the timing. I was going to get George the timing. Where should I come to Africa? But he didn't tell me.
We can look at that specifically for you, your own personal chart, because I think there's a thing is with timings, we've got collective timings and then we've got individual timings. And, you know, your natal chart is going to have your own soul contract, you know, imprinted on that. So
yeah, you know, George, I think a few years back when I did my seminars in Middle East and I went under the radar, when I came back, everything went down. Like I could not move for 5 years. I just sat in silence. Whatever I would come to, even a retreat wouldn't work, you know? So I talked to this astrologist, said to me, says, oh, Sudi, that was a bad timing for you. It didn't matter what you're going to do. Saturn was like, whoa.
Well, I mean, at a guess, I mean, I don't know how old you were, but don't forget, we have our Saturn returns 28 to 30, but then you'll have a Saturn a square 7 years later, or a Saturn opposition 14 years later. So, you know, there are these timings which kind of are freaky to the non-believer in their accuracy. Yeah. Now, of course, there's free will, meaning how that unfolds for Sudi is very different as to how that unfolds for me, and etc. for you to others, you know.
Yeah, thank you. No, I was just kidding with you, George. Okay, thank you so much, guys.
Okay.
Love, 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 love.
Bye.
Have a beautiful day, night, wherever you are. Thank you guys
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Thank you.
Don't forget to follow George and Dr. Chanel and Nikki if you haven't. And I see you guys next Thursday with another live. Much
Lots of
love.
love.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.